Hello students, welcome to my channel again. So this is the third part of the acid, base and salt chapter. So this is very important chapter for your class 7. And so previous day I discussed about the bases and some the process of neutralization, and I have discussed about the difference between acid and bases. What are the basic differences between acid and bases? And I told you to write down the table of page number 71. That means the table of element and compound and their symbols and formulas. So you have to remember those elements, otherwise you cannot write down the process of you cannot write down the chemical reactions of neutralization process. So the table, you have to remember this table. And in the previous day, that means in the first part of the video, first part of the first part of the chapter, I gave you some activities by which uh, I have shown you that how the indicators behave when we add acids and bases with the indicator. It changed its color, right? So today I want to discuss with you that about the neutralization. So in the previous day also I have discussed about the neutralization. So I repeat this one. That is, what is neutralization? Neutralization is a reaction in which acid and base reacts to form salt and water. So when acid and base reacts with each other, salt and water, salt and water, when uh, acid and base, acid and base react with each other, it produces salt, right? Salt and what? And water. So this salt depends upon the acid and the base, right? This salt depends upon the acid and the base, and during this neutralization process some heat evolves, right? So we have discussed about this, and we have discussed about some activity, that how we react the acid and base with a test tube and with a synthetic indicator and check the neutralization process. So today we are going to discuss about the neutralization process in our everyday life. So we are often using that is a digestion tablets. So if someday we eat very much, then our stomach gives us pain, right? So this is due to in our body hydrochloric acid is present to digest the food. But if because due to any reason, if one day is overeating for us, so that day over hydrochloric acid exerted from our body. So in that day, excess acid in the stomach gives us such pain or irritation. So to reduce this pain, we are often taking some digestion tablets or antacids, right? So this type of antacids, such as milk of magnesia, this is an antacid which is a base which is produced by base. So when we take those antacids which contains the base neutralize the power of the hydrochloric acid and relieve us. So a common antacid used for causing indigestion due to acidity is milk of magnesia. Okay. So milk of magnesia contains magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium hydroxide. Okay. Milk of magnesia contains milk of magnesium hydroxide. And another antacid is baking soda. So baking soda is that sodium hydrogen carbonate. Okay. Now let's see another example. Suppose um, ant. You know, ant when ant bites us, it is very painful for us. So what is happening here? ants have ants have formic acid in their body. In this part ants have formic acid. Okay, so when he stings us, through the sting, formic acid injects our body and it causes pain, burning pain. So what should we do if we have baking soda in our hand, and as this is formic acid, right? Formic acid. So acid, we know that acid can be neutralized by the base. So we have to use some basic solutions or basic things like baking soda. If we use baking soda solution or calamine solution, calamine solution, calamine solution means uh, zinc zinc carbonate. Okay, so when we use zinc carbonate or baking soda, that means sodium hydrogen carbonate, it neutralizes the power of the acid and making salt and water. Okay, so next use some when the soil in the soil, some after some days soil may acidic because of many reason. Okay, because of many reason soil can be acidic or can be basic. Suppose when we use excess that means manure in the soil, excess fertilizer, so it gets acidic or sometimes it gets basic. So to reduce the power of acid, we have to use, that means, calcium oxide, which is named as quicklime, to reduce the power, because calcium oxide is a base and it reduces the power of acid. Okay, and uh, if the soil is too basic, then we have to use decaying organic matter called as manure compost to just to and when we add the manure compost, it produces acid. So this acid reacts with the basic soil and neutralize the base. Okay, by this way we are going to we are using that means acid for basic soil and base for acidic soil. And we are using the in the factory wastes also sometimes. That means some acidic things are uh, acidic, some factories are making something which produces acids, which contains acids. Some waste are produces by the factories which contains acid, so they fall those acidic waste into the sea or any river. So then what will happen? The aquatic organisms like fish and trees are dead, died, right? So to reduce those, we have to use the basic things base into the waste materials. So it neutralized the acid and it did not hurt anyone. Okay. So these are the uses of the process of neutralization in our daily life. Let us see what is salt. So you know that when we react acid with base, when we react acid with base, it produces salt and water, right? It produces salt and water. Let's see an example. Suppose a acid HCl. HCl means, in the previous day I have told you that to write down a table. So in this table you could find that HCl means hydrochloric acid. So if we reacts HCl with the NaOH, that means sodium hydroxide, what it produces? It produces a salt, NaCl and water. See, the first part Na comes from the base, right? So sodium comes from the sodium hydroxide and the last part of the salt comes from the acid, right? So if this is Cl, that means it is it comes from HCl. So the salt which contains chlorides, that means chlorine, hydrochloric acid. So the salt which made from hydrochloric acid are called chlorides. So this is a chloride salt. So this is a very common salt for our cooking purpose. So the salt of sulfuric acids such as salt of sulfuric acid such as sodium sulfate. Sodium sulfate, the equation is of sodium sulfate is Na2SO4, sodium sulfate. So this salt is called sulfates. The salts which is obtained from a nitric acid is called nitrates similarly, and the salts are obtained from carbonic acid is called carbonates. The salt from acetic acid are called acetates, and like this way it is goes on. So let's see some base and some salts which is obtained from the base and acid. So if we write base here and acid here and salt, so when we use NaOH, that means sodium hydroxide, with HCl, it produces NaCl. Okay. When we add sodium hydroxide with H2SO4, that means sulfuric acid, it produces sodium sulfate. When we use potassium hydroxide, KOH, potassium hydroxide with nitric acid, HNO3, it produces potassium nitrate, KNO3. When we use ammonium hydroxide, NH4OH, with HCl, suppose, so it gives us NH4Cl. And when we use sodium hydroxide with carbonic acid, the carbonic acid, it gives us Na2CO3. Okay, so this is a carbonates, right? This is chlorides, this is nitrates. Okay, this is NaCl, means it is a chloride salt, it is sulfates salt. Okay, so salt also three types. One is neutral, one is acidic, and one is basic. When we dissolve the salt into the water, and if the salt does not change the color of any litmus paper, blue or red, then it's called neutral salt. That means it does not change the color of the litmus paper. So this type of salt can be obtained from when we use strong base and strong acid. When strong acid reacts with strong base, it gives us neutral salt. Okay, suppose a strong base, NaOH, and HCl. HCl is a strong acid, so it gives us NaCl. So this is a neutral salt. Now what is acidic salt? When dissolved salt, when those salt which form acidic solution on dissolving in water are called acidic salt. So acidic salts can change the color of blue litmus paper into red. So this type of salt obtained when weak base reacts with the strong acid. When weak base reacts with the strong acid, it gives us uh, that is strong. This gives us acidic salt. Suppose NH4OH. NH4OH is a weak base, and when it reacts with HCl, it gives us NH4Cl. So this is a acidic salt. And what is basic? Now you get the idea that what is basic? Those salt which if we dissolve the salt, and if the dissolving salt can change the color of a litmus paper from red to blue, so then we should say that this is a basic salt. And it also obtained from when strong base, as it is basic solution, so when strong base reacts with weak acid. Okay, so let's see an example. So a strong base you can say NaOH, right? NaOH. And a weak acid, you could say a weak acid is yeah, carbonic acid, you can say carbonic acid, right? Carbonic acid is a weak acid. So H2CO3. So when these these strong base and weak acid reacts, it gives us basic salt. So the equation of basic salt is Na2CO3. That means sodium carbonate. So this is the example of a basic salt. So you have to remember those basic salt, the examples of basic salt, that means neutral salt and acidic salt. So this is the chapter, and we have finished our chapter acid, base and salt. So if you have any query or any doubts about any topics in this chapter, you can text me through my WhatsApp number. Thank you for watching this video, and stay home, stay safe. Thank you.